All right. We have a good crowd with us today. Thanks for being here. Um, and welcome to this week's edition of Munch and Learn. My name is Sarah Lorenz. I'm the Special Events Manager at the Dixon, and we have a few notes before we get into our pastry demo for today. We are recording the session, and you can find each week's talk on the Dixon's YouTube channel if you ever want to go find one there. And because we're recording, we also ask that everyone stay on mute for the duration of this program. Now, if you have any questions for Chef Aryen, you are welcome to put them in the chat and we'll get to them when her presentation is finished. Now I will introduce our speaker. Aryen Moore-Alston is currently the Director of Operations for the Dixon's Cafe, Park and Cherry, and also Chef Phillip Dewayne LLC. She's also a trained chef and served as the executive chef of Sweet Potato Baby Catering and Baked Goods Company, G. Alston Restaurant, and the J. Uberall Culinary Academy. Chef Aryen, as her industry peers refer to her, was also a finalist in season 10 of the Food Network Star. So Aryen, thank you very much for joining us today.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. This is fun.
Take it away.
Okay. Well, I'm going to lead with a little demonstration or demo, but I'd like to give you some information about me. So in the beginning, I created a company called Sweet Potato Baby. It was a catering and baked goods company, and we serviced Memphis and the greater Memphis community, as well as international clients, and worked with the QVC to have my pastries on their channel to be sold by Mark Cuban Enterprises. From there, we created a huge following with our catering and baked goods and expanded quickly to the United Way building in Memphis, Tennessee, where we served as the cafe, similar to what we do with the Dixon, but only it was with United Way and all of their companies and nonprofits. Then I did a little stint on Food Network Star, and of course had the honor of being with Giada De Laurentiis, Bobby Flay, Alton Brown, and they served as my mentors. And it kind of helped me because in 2008, I had a cooking show called This House is Cooking, and we cooked in homes that were for sale because we all know kitchens and baths sell homes. They introduced me to Paula Deen and introduced me to Scripps Network, and hence therefore Food Network Star. So Sweet Potato Baby and G. Alston. G. Alston is actually my father's name, Gary Alston. And so I wanted to create something that was reminiscent of him. And he was sophisticated, debonair, and we were the first all-Black fine dining restaurant in Memphis, Tennessee, and we were located in Cordova. So pastry was always a passion of mine. I received my first Wilton demo, my first Wilton tips when I was, I believe, 10 years old. And I loved it. I decorated everything I could. I perfected the cupcake. Back then when people were smearing it with a butter knife, I was using pastry tips and calling myself a pastry chef. Did countless events, countless weddings. The cake on the left of the, what is that called? The minion. I did that for a boy who was suffering from retinoblastoma, and it was called Icing Smiles, where they asked decorators to prepare items for kids who normally wouldn't have seen their fourth or fifth or third birthday, and their parents couldn't afford to break away to indulge in that expense. So pastry chefs in the area were asked to create pastries for them. And it was a smash cake, actually. And then the other cake was for serves, the spirit of serves, and that was for adults with disabilities, and donated a cake to them. And then I did a thing called the J. Uberall Culinary Academy, where I served as the chef in residence and trained students in the culinary and events management, as well as culinary and pastry arts. There's a little girl who's now a grown-up in that picture, and she happens to be working at the Dixon. And her name is Tamia, and she has been with me since she was 14 years old. So I've kidnapped her, I've raised her, and now she has completed her degree in culinary arts, and you will see her almost every day with us in the kitchen. So doing things for them, we worked with the Hydes and various organizations, and I was able to expose children to an opportunity in this industry that otherwise they would not have been able to, been afforded, and the luxury of being in exclusive events where they didn't expect to have a 14, 15, or 16-year-old. And this is when I met Chef Phillip. I needed a cook to help me do an event for Leo events. And I said, hey, I got about 14 kids, but they can't produce the food. Do you think you could come help me? And he did. And I guess the rest is history. So let me stop sharing and then just open up. Let me see. Okay, can you see me? Because I think I'm only seeing you.
I see your table.
Okay, you see my table and my face a little bit. Okay, hi. Once again, my name is Aryen Moore-Alston, and I am the Director of Operations for Park and Cherry and also Chef Phillip Dewayne, LLC. Like I said, I'm an executive chef by training, and I've owned restaurants, cafes, bars, mobile kitchens, and now I team up and work exclusively with Chef Phillip Dewayne, and we create all the events at the Dixon and around the world. So we're constantly moving, constantly busy, but my love for culinary has always been there. My father was the one who taught me how to cook. I started cooking when I was 11. He passed away. My mother couldn't cook, and this thus began the journey. I grew up in Naples, Italy, so I was always surrounded by amazing cuisine, from the pastas, let alone the pizza, but I was in Naples, so everything Southern is great, like Southern America, Southern Italy, it doesn't matter. If you're in the South, it's great cuisine. And then I went on to become a Wilton cake decorating instructor. So I was at all the Michaels in this city, teaching people how to do just this: fill a piping bag, make icing, decorate a cake, so that they too could be a culinary genius and impress all their friends when it came time to their kids' birthdays. So I'm going to show you how to use a piping bag and a tip. It's very simple. Sometimes it seems really daunting, but it's basically a bag that usually you get it and it looks like a triangle. The industry has it in rolls, so you just rip it off. And then there's something called a coupler. Most of the time you don't have something like this. You have a Ziploc bag, you're stuffing the icing in, you cut off the tip and you're trying to do something with it. The coupler will save your life. It's interchangeable, so you can use this to pipe if I want to do grass and then I want to turn around and pipe the same red flower. If I want to turn around and do a rosette, I can do all of that just by removing this portion right here, sliding the tip off, and then adding another one. And I'll show you that a little bit later. But what I've prepared for you is some various pastries. We did a simple white cake decorated with a rosette and some green leaves. I did a chocolate decadence cake with a teardrop. And then we did white and chocolate cupcakes just so we could do a little bit of a demo. Unfortunately, you can't taste it. This is not what smell-o-vision is it, but I'm going to do my best to entice you so that you can mosey on down to Park and Cherry and try some of the pastries we have there now, because we've partnered exclusively with Muddy's. So this will be really amazing for you guys to taste their cupcakes and just dream of what you can do with all these tips you're about to gain. Okay, so icing. Icing is very simple. You want to do simple buttercream. It's butter, and then you can use a little bit of if you're shortening, if you wanted a little stiff. But true buttercream was just butter, powdered sugar. That was it. A little bit of vanilla extract. You whip it up. And I didn't want to put it on the mixer right now because it'll be too loud. However, I have whipped some beautiful vanilla buttercream for you. And what we're going to do is we're going to flavor it. So once you get it to a medium consistency, medium means that if you're doing this, a little bit may drop, but you don't want it stiff. You do want it to fall over. Usually a medium consistency is just that. When you're picking it up, you want it to fall over, not stiff peaks like you're doing a meringue. Quick note, the more you whip, the more air is incorporated into anything. So when we say whip, you want to do it only until you get all of the air bubbles out. That's why when you overmix a batter, sometimes it can fall flat, or the crumb, which is the texture of the cake, can be too dense, which releases the the gluten. So I have a good consistency. What we're going to do is we're going to drop something called, this is a salted caramel by Treatology. And I still tend to lean toward all Wilton products because I was trained with Wilton. So I kind of like their stuff. And it all goes together. It's kind of like makeup. You want to start with the base and keep with the blush. And you just kind of want to stick with one thing. Okay. So we're going to do a peach and salted caramel icing using our base of our buttercream. I'm just gonna fold that in. And when doing a demo, I don't like to really show it in white using white icing. So I'm gonna color this as well. And I know you can't really see, but I'm just gently folding in our flavoring. Like I said, we don't have to worry about over mixing, but if we did, we could just add a little bit of powdered sugar. No one's here to see it, it's just you, and then you can lick the bowl. And I'm gonna put a little bit of purple. And I'll tell you about Food Network while I'm doing this. I was actually on my way to pick my daughter up from daycare, and I got a phone call, and it was from New York, and I thought it was one of my friends. I was like, hey, and she's like, hey, what's up? I was like, nothing, what's good? And then she said, I want you on Food Network Star. I was like, who is this? I pulled the phone back, and it was one of the producers, and they said they wanted me on their 10th season of Food Network Star. And in all the years of doing it and all the seasons, I was the first one from Memphis, but I wasn't from Memphis then. I think I'd lived here maybe four years or so. And they were like, so what city are you gonna claim? Are you gonna claim Italy or are you gonna claim Memphis? I was like, I'm gonna claim Memphis. And it kind of helped solidify where I was gonna, I guess, plant seeds and take root when I got off the show. So now we have like a little bit of a lavender. I'm gonna go a little bit darker so you can see something. But yeah, so I was on Food Network. It was fun. I met a lot of great people, and a lot of them are very successful chefs in the industry, all the way from Kentucky to New York to Louisiana. So it's it's awesome. And actually, Chef Phillip is actually going to be on one of the shows. We haven't released the title and we haven't released the date, but when it airs, the Dixon, you guys will all know. All right. I think this is a good color. So that's the consistency we're going for. Medium consistency for piping. You want to do a stiff consistency if you're doing like a royal icing, or if you want something to do crusted. And a crusted icing is when you sit it out. And unlike this icing that's going to dent, a crusting icing will flake a little bit. It's almost like a Krispy Kreme donut that you leave out. When you touch it again, it's all flaky. That's called a crusting buttercream. All right, so here's another tip. Now that we have our beautiful bag, you're gonna take one of your piping tips. So I'm gonna use this tip. This is your 6B. This is also known as a French star tip. And I'm gonna bring this up close. This is called a French star tip. Let me put it, I don't know if you can see that. So you see those teeth on there. It's very sharp, but it gives a beautiful combed pipe on your icing. So it's the combing method. So you're gonna take your tip, you're gonna drop it into your bag to size it. A lot of people do this. We're not trying to blow in the bag. I used to say that's where all your germs go to. And with COVID, we just want to air it out, right? Okay, so then you're gonna size your tip by taking your scissors, and right where it goes halfway onto the bag, you just make a little incision on the side. Then you want to slide your tip down, make a cut, push it up, and voila, you have properly fitted your piping bag with a tip. Usually with such large tips, we don't use couplers. That's because we're usually not able to, I mean, couplers they're a little menacing when you get into it because you have all the icing and everywhere. But when you use a large tip, they usually don't use couplers. Here's another tip. You have a drinking glass, you want to fill your bag. You're going to take your bag and kind of fold it over the lip of the glass. Therefore, you're not worried about your hand slipping, or you're not able to put all the icing in there. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to fit this bag with our icing. I'm going to fill it in and use the sides of your cup to scrape it off. No fuss, no mess. Yeah. Once again, scraping this off. Again. And let's do one more for good measure, just to make sure we have enough and we don't have an air bubble. So now that you've done that, you're just going to gently fold this up right over. And voila, just like that, we have filled our tip with our icing. I'm pushing using the palm of my hand. I'm using a little bit of pressure to push the icing down towards the bottom of the tip until you see it come through. All right, so I do have a cupcake here, of course. That is the demo. I'm going to show you how to pipe that normal. This is the icing that you always see piped and decorated on cupcakes. So I want to start with this. Let's do a chocolate one. So when you're doing a rosette, this is a rosette that we probably do about 2 or 3 layers. You're going to hold your piping bag 90 degrees on top of your cupcake. You're going to start from the center. Some people start from the outside, but you want to start from the center and squeeze out. And once you have done a full circle, you're just going to go up slowly. And there it is. And that's one. Let's do another. We'll do it on vanilla this time. So once again, you're going to squeeze using the palm pressure of your hand and use your left or your right hand, it depends on if you're left or right-handed, to gently guide your hand upward, around, and then stop squeezing and lift up. There you are. And this is beautiful with your medium consistency icing because it'll hold, but it won't be too stiff. All right, let me see if I can readjust. All right, so now we're gonna go on to something that I think is very fitting for the Dixon. Let me see if I can pull it up just a little. We're gonna create a garden cupcake. Now what I've done is I've flavored and I've colored white icing. I'm turned this green. And when you get into the colors like green, red, and black, it kind of tastes mechanical. So there's something called no taste green, no taste black, and no taste red. This is that, but the more concentrated color, you can't help it. It's a dye. So usually, I know they have different ways of coloring with beets and carrots, but that does alter the taste of your icing. So just use your, I'll say, use your color sparingly. So we did a dark green or royal green, and I'm gonna show you by practicing on this plate how to do a garden cupcake. So what you wanna do first is you wanna lay the foundation. Pretend that this plate is your cupcake. We're gonna go ahead and we're going to pipe grass. And this is how you pipe the grass. You just squeeze gently. Oh, I think it crusted up in here for me. 1 second. All right, we're gonna squeeze gently and we're gonna make grass. And you just squeeze and pull up. And this tip is also used to create hair, to create a plethora of different looking, I guess, textures on the cake. So now we're gonna do this on, let's do it on our vanilla cake. Let's see. Can everyone see? Is this a good, let's see if I pull it down just a little bit more. All right, let's use this one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and start at the edge of the cake. And I'm gonna squeeze gently and pull up to create grass. Once again, I'm using my right hand because I'm right-handed. This is my main hand, and my left hand is my guide hand. And so the goal is when you are piping, make sure you always squeeze and let go when you pull up. So that gives it the texture. You don't want to keep squeezing because then you'll get this. All right, and we're going to cover that up with icing. So that's kind of like a boo-boo gone right and wrong. So here we go. And now we're just going to cover this area with our grass. And this is we're going to call this our garden cupcake. And this is also something fun to do. I have an 11-year-old, and I swear all she wants to do is play in fondant, roll dough, make icing, and my house is literally a powdered sugar catastrophe when she's done. All right, so now we've made our grassy knoll, if you will. We have our cupcake here covered in our green grass. Voila, just like that. And we're going to go ahead and using our other bag of icing. This is your 22, and the numbers on the tips dictate the I guess, the output. And so if you go on the Wilton website, you'll be able to see what kind of tip produces what kind of result. So you can alter your cake decorating to that. So here I have our 22, and I've created a little bit of floral rosettes here. So you just squeeze gently, let's see. And with this one, you're going to squeeze and rotate. So let's wipe that off. I'm going to squeeze down, make a little bit, and then turn your tip and come up. So this one again, I went down onto the plate, I squeezed gently, and then I turned and pulled up. All right, so we're going to create some flowers that look like they're blooming in this sea of green. So we're going to pipe, squeeze, and turn, and then lift. And then what we can do is, if I had some draggies, you would just gently, if you had water on your hand, you could gently pat this down, and then, or you could put a little silver bead in the middle just to give it some bloom, just to make it look like a flower. And there you are. This is something cute. And this is also medium consistency icing. That one went a little wayward. All right. So now I have some yellow sprinkles that I want to add to this, just to give it some color, some depth. And there we have it. I'm going to call this the Dixon Garden Cupcake. And that's another one. So far, we've gone over your traditional 1B French star piping bag tip. We have outfitted a bag. We've learned how to cut a bag, fit a tip in the bag, fill a bag, make some icing, decorate it, and we've already done 2 things. So we're going to go on to the next one. And this is the tricky one. When you get really good at doing cakes, you want to know, how do I do the border? How do I make it pretty? Simple. This same tip makes a beautiful border. So I'm going to try that on this one. And so for practice, you always want to have some parchment sheets or something available. We're going to do a simple piping border with a 1B. So imagine this is a cake, and usually it would be on a turntable. And then you pipe and drag, pipe and drag, pipe and drag. Now I'm doing this with my one hand and the other one pretending to be the cake, but you just squeeze and drag, squeeze and drag. And I'm stopping, I'm not using any more pressure. When I drag it away, I stop the piping, I squeeze and I pull and I stop. I squeeze, stop. And this is beautiful. Imagine this is on the outside of your cake. A little bit of practice, and you can be a cake master or master cake decorator. We'll do it again. Squeeze, and I'm running out of icing, and drag. So here you are. This is a basic beaded shell border. So the beauty of this is all test. So I can just scrape this right back into my bowl and reuse it. Once again, this is a piped border. This is the shell border. I remember when I was younger, loving cooking. And everyone knew that if it was my birthday or Christmas or a celebration, I was asking for either a kitchen tool or a cookbook. And by the time I turned 30, I probably had 200 plus cookbooks. I've since given them all away because I don't really need it. You have the internet. Some I've kept, of course, the Mastering the French Technique with Julia Childs and molecular gastronomy. And then my cookbooks got replaced with textbooks as I became a teacher. So learning the art of culinary to teach it is totally different from learning it to use it. But nevertheless, I received waffle irons, griddles, bread makers, and everyone in my family has a memory of me cooking. And they have pictures of it. And I have no idea, because I was just in the kitchen. So most of the pictures in the family, everyone's out, and I'm in the kitchen cooking. I catered, I did my best, my cousin's wedding, did my other cousin's wedding, I've done baby showers, but I was never a part of the fun. I was always in the kitchen making sure they had fun and that their meal was memorable. All right, so now we're gonna do a beautiful piping technique called Saint Honoré or Honoré. It depends on how you spell it or say it. It's Honore. And it's named after this cake that uses this technique to pipe. It's gonna be very beautiful. I'm gonna show you on a plate. Because it is red, we're probably gonna use it on the white cake that I have, but I'm gonna show you the demo on this. So this is the Honoré, and you hold it. Let me wipe off the tip just a little bit to show you what this tip looks like. This is a Saint Honoré tip, so there is no number because this is a special tip. If you look at it, it is actually a half circle and then it's cut into a V shape, and it gives a beautiful, beautiful piped line. I'll show you this. So say I squeeze here, and I'm just going to squeeze and I'm going to drag. Like I said, it's kind of hard to do with one hand without my guide hand, but I'm trying to show you, and this is what it would look like. So it is made to do this. And let's decorate one of our vanilla cupcakes with this. So what I will do here is I will actually go around and twirl my cake. Oh, I need my, I don't have my hand available. However, I think we're getting the hang of it. And there you are. This makes a perfect little rose petal, and you didn't have to do anything but pipe it. Back in the day, we used to have to use a different tip, put it on a piece of parchment. It was on this little needle. You turned it and you flipped it and you had to put it there. It was a mess. And I hated doing it. And everybody wanted flowers on their cake. So you couldn't say no to roses, but I wanted to say no because it took so long. And you had to use royal icing because you wanted it stiff so that it would hold the shape. So that's two techniques that you can use with the Saint Honoré tip. And these tips are really, really not even that expensive, maybe $1.99 or 49 cents, depending on where you get it from. So you can become a rock star and you've spent maybe, I don't know, the ingredients cost maybe $5. And here you are, you created all these different cupcakes and your family's like, you're the best. Okay, so now I'm gonna switch out this tip. This was our grass tip, which is also our 233. And now we're gonna replace it with a 352, which is a leaf tip. And I'm gonna show you what this also looks like. This is a leaf tip. So this is the beauty of the coupler. The base of the coupler is in here. I've just removed the tip. I can easily put this one right back on and twist. I did not have to squeeze out the icing. I didn't have to get a new bag, and I'm ready to go. Do a practice. This is a leaf tip. So when we are going to add, we're going to add on to this rose cupcake right here. I'm going to show you on this plate how we squeeze out the tip. So you want to have it 90 degrees to your surface, and you're going to squeeze until you get a good base, and then you're going to pull. Once again, I stop and I just pull. So you can make the 4-leaf clover with this one. You can go around in a circle, but once again, see, I'm going to squeeze it here, let it build up the base, and then I'm stop squeezing. I'm going to pull. So now I'm going to do it on this. Let's find a good lip. So I'm going to go under and squeeze, 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 squeeze. I think I got a little bit of my red on there, but that's okay. I'm gonna do the same here. Squeeze, 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 and pull. Take some of that green away. Now you want to use, usually you want to use stiff consistency icing when you're doing a leaf because you don't want it to flop over. You kind of wanted it to sit out, but I don't have time to redo the icing. So we're just going to squeeze and we're going to pretend that we used stiff icing. How about that? Do that here and pull. And this is just for show. So once I do this, you'll be able to recreate this for yourself. Let's go on the other side. This one's getting a little tragic. It's falling all over. And I'll do one more just to show you. See? So you'll go under the red, you'll squeeze, 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 and then you'll stop and you'll pull. And that is an example of how, if we kept going, you would have roses sitting in a border of leaves. I'm gonna go with my hands really quick. All right, so let's review. We have, we piped your traditional icing, brought it all the way up. We started in the middle, we rounded it up. So that's your ice cream, your kind of, what is that called? Your soft serve ice cream. Then we've done your Dixon garden. We showed how to do green grass, and then we added a little bit of floral to that. So now you have a garden full of flowers. We've done your St. Honoré tip, showed you how to do the traditional method of just the swiggles back and forth. Most of these are just controlled movements. So you want to make sure that you are controlling, and if you have a little bit of shakes, it's okay. And then we went around and did a pipe leaf border. Do I open for questions or do I continue?
That's up to you. If you have more things to share with us, I think we'd all love to hear them, that everyone's stuck around, they're captivated. So you're welcome.
Good. I'm glad you're not snoozing and wiping off like crust in your eye from sleep. So you know what? I'm more than happy to continue piping and talking. So if you want to do questions that way, we can do it.
Okay, well, so if anyone listening would like to type a question in the chat, please do. I have 3 so far.
Okay.
Your minion cake, you said it was a smash cake. What's a smash?
Okay, a smash cake is what they usually give 1-year-olds, and they're not eating the cake, they just smash it. So it's like a cake that you just beat it up. It's for photos. So once he smashed it, that was it.
Okay.
All that work to be smashed, right?
Okay, good. That's good to know. I didn't. So I love that you talked about the colorful frostings and how nowadays they are no taste. Mm-hmm. So that's what most people are using. And I asked that, does that mean we don't have to be afraid of eating colorful frosting anymore? Because, you know, I try to.
It depends. Like if you go to certain places, they may have the frosting that has the old style, you know, and then you taste it. Everyone's had that icing that you're like, ah, it's the blue, it's the greens, it's the red. You're like, can I have pastel, please? Give me something lighter. It's because of the flavoring. You know, the concentrated flavor really does produce mechanical taste.
So it's not universal yet that we're doing no taste. That's
it's not universal, but you can ask. So if you go to a place like Frost or Muddy's, most of the time they're the ones, the mainstream bakeries may be using the ones like the Walmarts or the Sam's Club. They may be using the actual old style of coloring. But if you're going to a bakery here in town, you might want to ask, hey, is that no taste flavoring on or coloring on your icing?
Okay. Thanks. Last question. When you were adding the peach and caramel flavoring to the buttercream, where could we get such a thing?
Well, you can get this at Michael's. I do know you can order it offline, but I always go to Michael's to get my my flavoring. This is a Treatology, which was a special when I was working for Wilton or working with them to produce this, because they would ask us, what flavors are people asking for? You have your traditional wedding cake, which is usually made with a creme bouquet. Creme bouquet is that flavor of almond, vanilla, and lemon, and that's called a creme bouquet. That is the 1980s taste for wedding cakes that went through the 90s and into 2000. So if you want the wedding cake flavor, it's usually with lemon almond, and vanilla, and that's called creme bouquet. So this is Treatology, and they have recipes. So if you want a peach Bellini cupcake, they have something that's like a basil that you mix with the peach. And so you don't have to try it yourself. They actually say put 3 drops of this and 2 drops of that. So you can get it on Wilton's website, and you can also get it at Mike's.
Okay, thank you.
You're
2 more.
welcome.
Juliana would like to know where you get your supplies.
Everywhere. Amazon is great, of course, because they have everything. But most of my supplies are just, I grab them from everywhere. Williams-Sonoma, Michael's. At one point in time, I think Joann's, I was getting some stuff from there. You can grab it from your local Walmart. You can grab it from Target now. And I wanted to show you that you don't have to invest heavily in this. These bags are like $2, and then you can grab, walk away, Betty Crocker in your baking aisle at the grocery store. You can get the disposable tips. So it's the same concept. You would put it into this bag minus the coupler, and you would go right away. And this is awesome because this actually breaks down what the tips do. And these are the tips we actually have. That's for your leaves, your borders, your ruffles. This is a star tip. That's for your basket weave. Now, basket weaves were really popular back in the day. And this is your grass tip and your hair. So yeah, and usually most people don't know what to do with the little round tips. That's just for writing. When you get all the way down to that little bitty hole, the smallest one I believe is a 0. That's for writing. This is like the 3. So when you get down to that, that's what they're using to write happy birthday on the cake.
Okay. Chantel asks, how important is guiding hand? Does it guide the location of the frosting or the movement of your hand?
It's more the movement of your hand. It's kind of, once you get used to it, I mean, I did most of this freehand without a guiding hand, but when you're learning, you need the guiding hand because it helps you navigate the surface. Most of the time when you're decorating on a cake, it's not flat. I mean, it might be flat, but it's rounded corners. It's all of this, and your guiding hand will help you navigate the surface of it. And it's really just to guide your main hand.
Okay.
I use my hands. I use both hands when icing.
Norwood asks, if Ziploc bag, can icing be successfully stored in the fridge?
Yes, they do have, let me show you. I had to go into the vault and grab my tips, but they have something that you use to store your tips. So say I have to go and run to the store, but I'm in the middle of icing and I don't want to take this out, put it in the fridge. They have something where it's just, it's a lip. It's just something to cover it. So you can buy these, you can put it over your Ziploc bag, and then you can actually just put a rubber band on the end and you're done. You're good to go. And most of this icing is shelf stable because you're using ingredients like butter, shortening, powdered sugar. Powdered sugar is naturally gluten-free and vegan. So these are all shelf stable products. But once you start getting into the butter, you do have a shelf life on it because it will turn rancid if it's stored too long. So I would say no more than 2 months on icing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If anyone else has any questions, you may write them in the chat, but I think that may conclude our questions for today. Do you have more, are you playing, or do you have?
I was just gonna use that same piping tip to go ahead and just do the border while we were talking. I just wanted to add some more icing. So this is how I actually fill the bag. I never use that glass. I'm usually really moving when I'm icing, so the bag, that cup would just get in the way. I use my hand, and then I use the inside of my hand, almost like I did the lip of the cup. And I'm just gonna pipe around the border so I can show you guys how it would look on a finished product and not just a plate. So I'll do it for the chocolate cake, because that is the one that is just sitting here lonely, wanting some love. Let me move this down. And so I will just show you how to pipe the border. Actually.
You've received some silent from Joe Ellen in the form of
well, that's awesome.
an emoji.
Oh, that's awesome. And so what you just witnessed was an air bubble. Sometimes when you have the icing in here, you have to make sure you push it all the way down. And that's why you see a lot of people twisting and retwisting, because what we're really trying to do is get the air out so you don't have it blow on you, like pop open on you. So I'll twist it this way so you can see. I'm just using.
While you're doing that, we have two more questions.
Sure.
One of our friends who logged in, I think perhaps after you talked about muddies, would perhaps you could remind us where we could catch deliciousness this week and for the next few weeks.
Yeah, this week you can catch muddies at Park and Cherry. I've been talking with Kat and all her amazing pastry chefs at Muddies, and we are now carrying Muddies exclusively at the Dixon. You can't walk anywhere into the city and get Muddies now, but you can come to Park and Cherry and you can have Muddies with your cup of coffee or your lunch, or now your Saturday brunch, or your third Thursday dinner. So we are like really doing a lot of things. It was time to evolve, time to bring in the community and show people that we can work in collaboration. And Muddies, being that they closed both of their locations, the one in East Memphis and the one in Cooper Young, I wanted an opportunity to showcase their pastries. And I have a relationship with Kat, and I was like, hey, would you be willing to have our pastries in our shop? And now, I mean, I think they were there yesterday. I missed them because we had an event, but they were there. They're happy about it. We're happy about it. So come and try out their crisp brown rice crispy bars, their peanut butter bars, their Prozac cupcakes, their wedding cake cupcakes. Come get it at Park and Cherry.
Awesome.
Then a little shameless plug.
No, that's why you're here. We love it. What's the largest amount of cupcakes you can remember having frosted in one day?
900, actually. It was for Teach for America, and it was 900, and they were minis, 900 minis. And then we did something with Memphis Tourism, and I think that was like 400, and those were the regular size. So I was always doing something pastry related. And then the largest cake I ever did was 12 tiers with dazzles and everything, and I had to assemble it on site. It was crazy.
Was the 400 and the 900 number something you did solo or you did with a team?
It depends. I think, you know how they have that place called Insomniac Cookies, and the whole story is that, you know, you're up, you want something to do. Baking was my thing to do when everybody was sleeping. So they'd wake up and the house would smell like deliciousness, right? Sugar overload. It was the thing I did by myself. I loved it. I mean, I did have a team, and I think at one point I had 36 employees. So I had people baking around the clock, but the icing, they'd always be like, it's your job. It was okay, give me another 12. You know, that was my thing. Load up my bag, and the bags go. I think this is a 12-inch bag. I can show you. This is the type of bag that I would be using when I decorate it. So you would load this up with icing. I would drop my tip down, load it up with icing. It'd be this big, and you'd have it like this. I'd be like, and so Chantel asked, how important is your guide hand? Very important, because when you're doing something like this, I've seen people with, I think this might be the largest bag, but I've seen chefs have it bulging and just going. And so I was that chef. I mean, this was my bag of choice. I'd wash it. Come on, let's wash it. Let's reuse it. I gotta go. And so, yeah, this is the bag that I would use.
All right. We have another timely question.
Yes.
Have you created any special treats for the Wayne Thiebaud exhibit? And if so, what?
Well, that's the reason why Muddies is here. I am culinary, I would say I'm creative. I love creating all the menus that you guys see and have tasted. Chef Phillip and I are constantly talking about food. We're always eating something, talking about eating. It's it's our thing. However, Muddy's is here to kind of break it up, you know, so you guys can get something different. And since they've closed their locations and they only have that one on Broad, you're welcome to come by and taste what they have. But yeah, we're thinking of some things. We don't know if Muddy's is going to be around forever or for just right now, but we want to showcase our goodies as well. So be on the lookout. But I think for now we'll stick with Muddy's until the exhibit's out.
What about the frosé we've talked about?
Oh yes, so August 19th we're doing a vanilla cupcake frosé. So you have to come out and taste this. So what it is just frozen rosé, really. It's flavored. Well, we have some vodka in it, of course, but it's a frozen alcoholic slushy. And so we're making that on August 19th for the open late, as well as doing our first dinner at the Dixon. Well, our first in a long time, pre-COVID and post-COVID. So yeah.
All right, last question. What are you going to do in front of you?
Bring them to the Dixon. They cannot stay here. They cannot stay in my house. I will cut them up and eat them little by little.
Well, thank you so much for today, Aryen, teacher. We appreciate the intel that you gave us, and to everyone for attending. Next week's program will be featuring our own Director of Horticulture, Dale Skaggs. They'll be talking native azaleas. And we also invite you to come in person, have some food from Park and Cherry, some desserts from Muddy's, and see our current exhibitions by Wayne Thibault and Greeley Myatt. That's it. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
All right, see you. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.